Diana Ross is already close to 80 years old, and the way she lives is depressing. Diana Ross is now 80 years old, and the way she lives her life is sad. Over the course of more than half a century, Diana Ross has been a legendary presence in the world of music. Her name is connected with classics that will stand the test of time and a daring sense of style. On the other hand, do you find yourself wondering what happened to Diana? This video has everything you need to know. Let's do what we're doing. As a result of a significant event that occurred on December 30, 2002, Diana Ross found herself in a difficult legal situation. During that time period, she was an individual who was receiving treatment for substance misuse at a rehabilitation clinic that was situated in Tucson, Arizona. During this time that Ross was undergoing rehabilitation, she was caught for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, which would lead to legal complications. Following her incarceration, Diana Ross was subject to legal repercussions for the conduct she had taken. After that, she was given a sentence that required her to serve a 2-day jail sentence close to her estate in Connecticut. Due to the fact that she was arrested for driving under the influence, she was given this term as part of the legal consequences. On March 26, 1944, the iconic American singer and actress Diana Ross was born in the beautiful city of Detroit, in the state of Michigan. Her parents, Ernestine and Fred Ross Sr., had a total of 6 children, and she was the second out of the 6. In the beginning, her mother had the intention of naming her daughter Diane, but, due to a mistake made by the nurse on the birth certificate, she was officially given the name Diana. Her family and acquaintances in Detroit, on the other hand, perpetually referred to her as Diane. Diana was raised in a Baptist family with her parents and her siblings, who included 2 sisters named Barbara and Rita, as well as 3 brothers named Arthur, Fred Jr., and Wilbert, who was popularly known as Chico. Diana's parents lived in a Baptist household. At one point in time, the Ross family resided at 635 Belmont Street, which is located in the North End neighborhood of Detroit, Michigan, in close proximity to Highland Park. Notable among them was the well-known Smokey Robinson, who lived next door. On the other hand, Diana's mother became dangerously ill as a result of tuberculosis, which she developed when Diana was exactly 7 years old. Diana's parents took the painful decision to transfer her and her siblings to live with their maternal grandparents, Reverend William Moten, who was the pastor of the Bessemer Baptist Church, and Mrs. William Moten in Bessemer, Alabama. This was done to ensure that Diana would recover and that the children would be in good health. Diana, along with her brothers and sisters, ultimately made their way back to Detroit, where she would begin her extraordinary career as an artist. This occurred after her mother returned from her hospitalization. Diana Ross's family made a significant relocation in 1958, when she was 14 years old. They moved to the Brewster Douglas housing projects in Detroit, which were located in the working-class neighborhood of Detroit. They located their home on St. Antoine Street. Cass Technical High School, which is located in the heart of downtown Detroit, is a top-tier preparatory magnet school and 4-year college. Diana completed her study at this distinguished institution. The pursuit of a career in fashion design was at the center of her aspirations at the time. During her time at Cass Tech, Diana participated in a wide variety of classes in order to fulfill her goal of becoming a fashion designer. Fashion design, millinery, the art of manufacturing hats, pattern making, and tailoring were some of the subjects that she chose to study in school. When Diana was not working toward her goal of becoming a fashion designer, she spent her nights and weekends exploring other areas of interest. It is important to note that she later disclosed that Smokey Robinson had generously provided her with the finances necessary to attend modeling and cosmetology classes. She divulged this information after she had already begun her training in these fields. Additionally, Diana was an enthusiastic participant in the extracurricular activities offered by the school, including joining the school's swim team group. Through her employment as a busgirl at Hudson's, a major department store located in the downtown area of Detroit, Diana made her initial forays into the realm of professional work in the year 1960. After being hired by Hudson's, she became the first African American busgirl at the store, which was a significant achievement in her early professional life. Her hiring at Hudson's was particularly noteworthy during this time. Diana highlighted her talents and entrepreneurial drive by providing hairdressing services to her neighbors in order to enhance the income she was already well off with. Diana Ross's academic adventure at Cass Tech came to a successful conclusion in January 1962, when she received her diploma. The basis for her future success and iconic career in the entertainment industry was built during this time period in her life in the entertainment industry. Diana Ross's quest to becoming a musical superstar began in 1958, when she was only 15 years old, when she became a member of the Primettes. There was a male singing ensemble known as the Primes, and the Primettes were the sister group to that group. Paul Williams, a member of the Primes, recognized her skill and brought her to the attention of Milton Jenkins, a music manager. This link was made as a result of this. Florence Ballard, Mary Wilson, and Betty McLown, who was dating Paul Williams at the time, were the other members of the Primettes. Diana was also a member of the group. When the Primettes triumphed in a talent competition held in Windsor, Ontario, in the year 1960, their abilities were clear to see. An A&R executive and songwriter named Robert Bateman was impressed by their performance and extended an invitation to them to try out for a recording contract with Motown Records. Especially noteworthy is the fact that Diana Ross's extraordinary live performances at a variety of events, including sock hops, started to garner acceptance. It was a momentous turn of events when Diana approached William "Smokey" Robinson, her former neighbor and the man who was supposed to have been her childhood boyfriend, to discuss the possibility of auditioning for Motown. On the other hand, Smokey requested that the Primettes first take part in an audition for him. One of the conditions that he agreed to in order to bring the Primettes to Motown was that they must allow him and his group, the Miracles, to hire Marv Tarplin, the guitarist for the Primettes, for an upcoming tour. Diana Ross regarded the lengthy and influential tenure of Marv Tarplin in Robinson's bands as a fair deal. This agreement resulted to the long and influential career of Marv Tarplin. After that, the Primettes participated in the audition procedure hosted by Motown, where they performed in front of a number of Motown executives. It was when Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, heard Diana Ross sing, "There Goes My Baby," that he was completely enthralled by her remarkable vocal performance. This fortuitous meeting halted him in his tracks and saved his life. Although the trio possessed a lot of skill, Gordy suggested that they complete their high school education before pursuing a career with Motown. Undaunted by this piece of advice, the Primettes started going to the headquarters of Motown in Hitsville, which is located in the United States of America. They did this in order to show their support for Motown songs by providing hand claps and backing voices. In the year 1960, the band recorded 2 songs for Lupine Records, with Diana Ross taking the lead vocal delivery on one of the tracks. Diana served as the group's hairstylist, makeup artist, seamstress, and costume designer during this time period. She also took on a variety of other tasks within the group. In late 1960, the Primettes were given the opportunity to record their own songs at Hitsville's studio. Following Betty McLown's departure, Barbara Martin took over as the Primettes' new leader. When Smokey Robinson was the vice president of Motown at the time, he was responsible for writing a significant number of these songs. Your Heart Belongs to Me and A Breathtaking Guy were 2 of the tunes that were released during this period of time. These songs did not become hits on a national scale, despite the fact that they were successful in certain regions. In January of 1961, Berry Gordy gave his consent to sign the band, but he stipulated that they must change their name. According to reports, Florence Ballard, a member of the Primettes, selected the name Supremes because it was the only name on the list that did not finish with Ada. Diana Ross indicated that she was concerned that the new name would be confused with a male singing group. On January 15, 1961, however, Gordy went ahead and signed the group under the name The Supremes by signing them. As the years passed, the band went through a series of transitions, culminating in Barbara Martin's departure in 1962, which reduced the quartet to a trio. Additionally, it was at this period that Ross began a love relationship with Berry Gordy, the CEO of Motown, which lasted for a number of years. The birth of Ross's first child, Rhonda Suzanne Silberstein, took place in August of 1971 as a result of this connection. Rhonda was brought up by Robert Ellis Silberstein, a music businessman who was also Diana Ross's husband at the time. This is an interesting fact because Silberstein was aware of Rhonda's true father. Rhonda was 13 years old when Ross made the decision to tell her the truth, which was that Berry Gordy was her biological father. Prior to the disclosure of this information, Rhonda referred to Gordy as Uncle BB. During the time that Diana Ross was married to Robert Ellis Silberstein, she gave birth to 2 daughters, Tracy Joy Silberstein, who would later be known as Tracy Ellis Ross, who was born in 1972, and Chudna Lane Silberstein, who was born in 1975. In 1977, Ross and Silberstein finalized their divorce. Her debut solo album, which was titled after herself, was released in May of 1970, marking the beginning of Diana Ross's career as a solo artist. The release of this record signaled the beginning of a solo career that was extremely successful. One of Diana Ross's first singles to reach #1 in the United Kingdom was the ballad, "I'm Still Waiting," which she released in 1971. During the same year, she made her debut as a solo performer on television with the special named Diana, which also featured the performances of the Jackson 5. While working on her first film, Lady Sings the Blues, which was released in 1972, Diana Ross ventured into the world of acting, expanding her career in the process. Billie Holiday, a jazz and blues singer, was the subject of the film, which was a loosely based biography of her. However, there was initial criticism of her taking on the role. The performance that Diana gave in the movie was praised by viewers and critics alike. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that jazz journalist Leonard Feather lauded her for perfectly encapsulating the spirit of Billie Holiday. In recognition of her performance in Lady Sings the Blues, she was nominated for both the Academy Award and the Golden Globe Award in the category of Best Actress. Additionally, the soundtrack to the movie was a huge hit, penetrating the top spot on the Billboard 200 chart and selling 2 million copies total. Diana Ross is credited with singing the song, "When We Grow Up," on the children's album, Free to Be, You and Me, which was released in November of 1972. In 1973, the ballad, "Touch Me in the Morning," by Diana Ross became the second song to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the United States. In the latter part of same year, she recorded a duet album with fellow Motown star Marvin Gaye titled Diana and Marvin, which went on to become a significant success all over the world. She became the first entertainer in the history of Japan to receive an invitation to the Imperial Palace for a private visit with Empress Nagako, the wife of Emperor Hirohito. She went on a tour that was rather extensive during the year 1973. After Diana Ross became the first African American woman to co-host the Academy Awards in April 1974, she became the first person of her race to do so. In addition to John Huston, Burt Reynolds, and David Niven, she was also responsible for hosting the event. Love Hangover, Diana Ross's fourth solo #1 hit, was published in 1976. The song was a transitional piece, shifting from a sensual, dramatic ballad to an up-tempo disco music. In the same year, she began her An Evening with Diana Ross tour, which went on to achieve a great deal of popularity. The tour resulted in a television special with the same name that was nominated for an Emmy and a 2-week engagement at the Palace Theater where it was performed on Broadway. One of the scenes in the television special included Diana Ross portraying the famed cabaret artist Josephine Baker, as well as blues singers Bessie Smith and Ethel Waters. Stan Winston was responsible for the special makeup effects that were used in the special. Additionally, Diana Ross was honored with a special Tony Award in recognition of her outstanding performance. I'm Coming Out and Upside Down were two of the songs that were featured on Diana Ross's album Diana, which was released in 1980. This album was the catalyst for her greatest success thus far. Her success among a new generation of dance audiences was bolstered by the fact that these songs were chart toppers throughout the years. In the same year, she collaborated with Lionel Richie to create a duet ballad named Endless Love. This song went on to become her sixth and last single to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Gene Simmons, the bassist and co-lead singer of the band Kiss, was the person that Diana Ross dated during this time period as well. The involvement lasted till the year 1983. Cher, who had been Simmons's friend because of their previous relationship, was the one who made the recommendation that led to the beginning of their relationship. In a later statement, Simmons made the interesting admission that he fell in love with Ross while he was still dating Cher, which ultimately resulted in the breakup of the friendship between Ross and Cher. The year 1985 saw the beginning of Ross's second marriage to Arne Næss Jr., a Norwegian shipping mogul. The couple tied the knot in the year 1986. During the course of their marriage, Diana Ross took on the role of stepmother to Arne Næss's 3 older children, Katinka, Christopher, and Leona Nias, who is a prominent folk singer. Ross Arne and Evan Olav, who were born in 1987 and 1988, respectively, were the couple's 2 kids conceived during their time together. However, in the year 2000, their marriage came to an end as a result of the revelations that Næss had fathered a kid with another lady in Norway. Despite the fact that Ross has maintained close relationships with her 3 ex-stepchildren, she still considers Næss to be the love of her life. The life of Diana Ross has been enriched by the presence of a warm and supportive family that has grown over the years. her grandchildren number 7 at this point. In 2009, her grandson Rafe Hinnock was born, and her daughter Rhonda as the mother of her grandchild. After more than 20 years of engagement with Motown, Diana Ross started negotiations in 1980 to quit the record label that she had been with for several decades. Motown provided her with a severance payment that was worth a total of $250,000. A unique offer was made to Ross by RCA Records, which was a recording contract worth $20 million in 7 years, which provided her with complete control over the production of her records. Prior to signing with RCA, she reportedly approached Berry Gordy, the head of Motown, to inquire about the possibility of him matching the offer made by RCA. However, Gordy responded by stating that it was difficult for him to do so. On May 20, 1981, as a consequence of this, Diana Ross signed a recording contract with RCA, which would go on to become one of the most costly recording deals in the history of music. When Ross released her debut album under the RCA label in October 1981, the title of the record was Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Over 1 million copies of the album were sold, indicating that it was a commercial success. Mirror Mirror and her rendition of the classic song, Why Do Fools Fall in Love, were among the hits that were featured in this collection. Enide Productions, which is a play on the name Diana spelled backward, was the name of Ross's own production firm, which she founded after she moved to RCA. Additionally, Ross participated in real estate transactions. She proceeded to go on a lengthy tour not only in the United States but also in other countries. Diana Ross was presented with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on May 6, 1982, as a token of her appreciation. After the success of Why Do Fools Fall in Love, she released Silk Electric, an album that featured the hit single Muscles, which was written and produced by Michael Jackson. This album was a strong follow-up to the success of Why Do Fools Fall in Love. As a result of this song, Ross was nominated for a Grammy and achieved another top 10 hit. A gold certification was eventually awarded to the record. Through the release of the Ross album in 1983, Diana Ross experimented with a pop-rock style through her music. Although it featured the song, Single Pieces of Ice, which was a smash in the top 40, the album did not go on to yield any other singles and did not achieve gold certification. Iglesias and Diana Ross collaborated on the song, All of You, which was included on the album Swept Away, which was published by Diana Ross in 1984. Other songs that were featured on the album included the single, Missing You, which was written as an homage to Marvin Gaye and went on to become a smash all over the world. In terms of sales, Swept Away achieved a gold record. Her album Eaten Alive, which was released in 1985 and was produced by Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, featured the single Chain Reaction, which reached number 1 in the United Kingdom and other countries. Additionally, the title tune, which was a collaboration between Michael Jackson and Barry Gibb, proved to be quite successful. Another factor that contributed to the success of both songs was the music videos that accompanied them. As part of the charity record, We Are the World, which was released by USA for Africa in 1985, Diana Ross made an appearance. This track went on to sell more than 20 million copies all over the world. During the year 1986, Diana Ross served as the host of the 13th Annual American Music Awards. The following year, she participated in the 14th annual telecast once again. During the celebration of Essence magazine's 50th anniversary, which took place in May of 2004, Diana Ross and her daughter, Tracee Ellis Ross, were on the cover of the publication. The homage to Stevie Wonder that was performed at the Billboard Music Awards Century Award ceremony took place on December 8, 2004, and Ross was the musician who was included. During the month of January in 2005, Ross took part in the Tsunami Aid event, which was an event of Hope TV concert with the purpose of raising money for the victims of the earthquake that occurred in the Indian Ocean in 2004. The following day, on January 20, 2005, she introduced her MAC Icon makeup collection, which was a part of the Icon series that was produced by the Beauty Corporation. In 2005, Ross collaborated with Rod Stewart to perform a duet version of the Gershwin standard, I've Got a Crush on You. This rendition was included on Stewart's album, which was titled, Thanks for the Memory, The Great American Songbook Volume 4. In addition to reaching number 19 on the Billboard Hot Adult Contemporary chart, the song was also made available as a promotional single upon its release. In addition, Ross worked with Westlife to create a rendition of her popular song, When You Tell Me That You Love Me. The cover was a huge success, reaching number 2 on the singles chart in the United Kingdom and number 1 in Ireland. At Oprah Winfrey's Legends Ball weekend in 2005, Diana Ross was honored as a guest. The event was held to celebrate the accomplishments of 25 African American women in the fields of art, entertainment, and civil rights. The weekend was eventually broadcast on ABC as a program that lasted for 1 hour. The television performances that Ross performed at Central Park, which were themed for One and for All, were honored with the Viewer's Choice Award for television's greatest music moment at the TV Land Awards in March of 2006. The long-awaited 1972 Blue album by Ross was finally published by Universal in June of 2006. It reached its highest position on the top jazz albums chart for Billboard at number 2. In the latter part of that year, in 2006, she released her first studio album in 7 years, which was billed as I Love You. On the Billboard Hot 200 Albums chart, the album reached its highest position at number 32, and on the Billboard Top R&B Albums chart, it reached its point of highest position at number 16. To promote his album, I Love You, Ross went on a tour around the world. She was honored at the Kennedy Center Honors in 2007, in addition to receiving the BET Awards Lifetime Achievement Award the same year. Ross gave a performance at the start of the United States of America on August 28, 2008. A tennis tournament held in honor of Billie Jean King at an open level. Her performance at the Nobel Peace Prize concert in Oslo, Norway, in 2008 was also a highlight. The annual Symfonica in Rosso music series was performed in the Gelredome Stadium in Arnhem, Netherlands, in October of 2009. Ross was the featured performer at the concert series. She went on her first headlining tour in 3 years in 2010, which was titled The More Today Than Yesterday, The Greatest Hits Tour. This tour was her largest tour to date. Positive feedback was received all around the country for this tour, which was devoted to honoring the memory of her late friend Michael Jackson. Inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame in the year 2011, Diana Ross was honored with this honor. Her first Grammy Award, which she got for Lifetime Achievement, was presented to her in February of 2012, and she also announced the nominees for Album of the Year after the ceremony. In May, a DVD titled For One and for All was published, which featured her performances during concerts held in Central Park. After that, in the latter part of December 2012, she had a performance at the Christmas in Washington concert that was hosted by the White House. Former President Barack Obama was present at the event. TNT produced a broadcast of this event on a yearly basis. A tour in South America and another tour in the United States were both accomplished by Ross in the year 2013. It was at the Montreal International Jazz Festival on July 3, 2014 that she was presented with the Ella Fitzgerald Award in recognition of her contribution to modern jazz vocalists. Over the course of the American Music Awards, which took place on November 20, 2014, she presented Taylor Swift with the Dick Clark Award for Excellence. It was in 2015 when Ross made an appearance in the music video for the song, How to Live Alone, that was performed by her son Evan Ross. In April of 2015, she started a mini-residency at the Venetian in Las Vegas, which was dubbed the Essential Diana Ross, Some Memories Never Fade. Diana Ross sings songs from The Wiz as an album that was recorded in 1978 and was produced by Motown Universal. It was published on November 27, 2015. She starred in the film adaptation of the musical The Wiz alongside Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, Ted Ross, Richard Pryor, and Lena Horne. The CD contained Ross's renditions of songs from the film adaptation of the show. Beginning in 2013, Ross continued her In the Name of Love tour in February of 2016. The tour had been going on since 2013. On November 22, 2016, President Obama presented her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She was honored with the award. In December of 2016, Diana Ross was named by Billboard magazine as the 51st most successful dance club performer in the history of the organization. At the Essence Festival in New Orleans, which took place on June 30, 2017, Ross was the headlining performer, and her daughter Rhonda Ross Kendrick was the opening act. The American Music Awards presented Ross with the Lifetime Achievement Award on November 19, 2017, and she also performed a number of her hits throughout the ceremony. Her performance came to a close with the song, Ain't Number Mountain High Enough, during which she participated in the performance with all of her grandchildren. The attention of the audience was drawn to her grandson Reef Henoch Emmanuel Kendrick, who is the son of Rhonda Ross Kendrick, as he did a dance on stage. In addition, Diana Ross was joined on stage by her children, their spouses, her first ex-husband Robert Ellis, Smokey Robinson, and Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. A promotional appearance for Ross's debut fragrance, Diamond Diana, was made on the Home Shopping Network in the month of December in 2017. Within a few hours, the fragrance was completely sold out. During the same time that the scent was introduced, a CD retrospective collection of her music titled Diamond Diana was also made available. Both the top album sales list and the Billboard R&B albums chart ranked it as the 6th and 5th most popular albums, respectively. On the Billboard Dance Club Songs chart, the first single release from the CD, titled Ain't Number Mountain High Enough 2017, went all the way to the top spot. Eric Cooper was the one responsible for the remix. The Wynn Las Vegas was the location of Ross's new mini residency, which began on February 8, 2018. She continued to be successful in the world of dance music, and on August 4, 2018, she had yet another #1 hit on the top dance list of Billboard with the song, I'm Coming Out Upside Down 2018. During the year 2018, she also gave a performance at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Diana Ross was listed as the third most successful dance club musician of all time by Billboard magazine, which published its rankings in December of 2018. At the 61st Annual Grammy Awards, which took place on February 10, 2019, the Recording Academy presented Ross with an award. Among the songs that she performed were Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand and The Best Years of My Life. Over the course of 2019, her song, The Boss, was reworked by Eric Cooper and renamed The Boss 2019. On April 13, 2019, it climbed to the top of the top dance chart on Billboard. It was revealed in October 2019 that Ross would be performing the Sunday Legend slot on the Pyramid stage at the Glastonbury Festival in order to commemorate the festival's 50th anniversary. On the other hand, the event was delayed because of the widespread COVID-19 outbreak. On November 10, 2021, Ross announced that she would be performing the Legend slot at the festival that would take place in 2022. Supertonic Mixes was a compilation album that was issued by Diana Ross in May of 2020. It featured 9 of her most popular songs that had been remixed by Eric Cooper. Through the use of remixes, these legendary songs were given a new lease on life, making them appealing to a new generation of listeners. The CD and the crystal clear vinyl LP versions of Supertonic Mixes were both made available for purchase in July of 2020. There was a collaboration between Ross and the psychedelic pop band Tame Impala, which resulted in the publication of the single Turn Up the Sunshine in May of 2022. The original soundtrack album for the film Minions, The Rise of Gru, featured this song as the lead single for the album once it was released. The album itself featured new takes on legendary singles from the 1970s by artists such as Brittany Howard, Saint Vincent, H.E.R., and others, with Turn Up the Sunshine serving as a contemporary rendition of the album. On June 4, 2022, Diana Ross was the star finale act at the Platinum Party at the Palace, which was held to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. She proceeded to amaze audiences on June 10, 2022, when she kicked off the United Kingdom leg of her Thank You tour at Cardiff Castle. The following day, on June 26, she performed live at the Pyramid stage at the Glastonbury Festival, where she captivated the audience with her performance that captured the essence of the festival. Diana Ross kicked up her The Music Legacy Tour in the United States in June of 2023, which was a celebration of her best hits that ended up at #1. This tour gives her fans the opportunity to witness her timeless music in person, which further solidifies her position as a renowned musician. In addition, it was reported in May 2023 that Ross will perform at London's Royal Albert Hall on October 14 and 15, 2023. This will further solidify her position as an enduring musical icon who has a following all over the world. Ross's influence is far-reaching, since he has affected a great number of musicians across multiple generations. Her exceptional career and artistic abilities have served as a source of inspiration for a number of well-known artists and musicians, including Michael Jackson, Beyoncé, Madonna, Jade Thirlwall, Questlove, Lady C, and the Ting Tings. In addition, Ross's life and career have served as a source of inspiration for a number of other pieces of art. The life and travels of Ross served as a source of inspiration for the character of Dina Jones, who was portrayed in both the play and the film adaptation of Dreamgirls. Broadway is not immune to the influence that Diana Ross has had. The musical Motown, which was first performed in 2013, depicts the tale of Berry Gordy's relationship with Diana Ross as well as his development of the Motown record label. Ross was portrayed in the production by a number of different women, including Valencia Lakay and Lucy St. Louis, among others. In addition, actresses such as Candace Marie Woods and Dariandra Tucker played the role of Ross in the theatrical production of the play Ain't Too Proud. As a member of the And You Can't Hurry Love, you are acknowledged as being among the 500 songs that have shaped rock and roll, which are recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 1988, the Supremes were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 1994, they were honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1998, they were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. The Supremes were voted number 1 by Rolling Stone in the year 2004. On their list of the 100 greatest artists of all time, they ranked at number 96. Diana Ross was honored as the Female Entertainer of the Century by Billboard magazine in the year 1976. By virtue of the fact that she has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one as a solo artist and another as a member of the Supremes, she is one of the few music artists who can claim this distinction. She was honored at a ceremony to mark the opening of the Diana Ross Playground in Central Park, New York, in 1986. The playground was named after her in recognition of her efforts. Her role in exposing the Jackson 5 to the general public, which resulted in the release of the album Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5, is another example of Ross's substantial influence. Despite the fact that there were ambiguities over her finding of the Jackson 5, her portrayal as the person who discovered them rose to prominence. Dionne Warwick's life and the tragic ending of her lives. There is no doubt that That's What Friends Are For by Dionne Warwick is an unquestionable masterpiece. The combination of her powerful vocals, the words that come from the heart, and the cooperation with Stevie Wonder, Elton John, and Gladys Knight results in a piece of music that is ageless and resonates with the genuine essence of friendship. Life is meant to be lived to the fullest, yet this song brings back sad memories and tears. The way Gladys Knight simply grins, waits her time, and then absolutely blows all expectations out of the water is something that I absolutely like. Such a wonderful song, exquisitely harmonized, and enduring in its own right. Wow, what a magnificent and enduring treasure. Approximately 35 years ago, I was riding a bus during the morning rush hour. I remember it vividly. A large number of commuters who were going about their regular business were crammed onto the bus. After then, this song was played on the radio. As the bus driver turned up the volume, there was an abrupt shift in the atmosphere that prevailed aboard the vehicle. This charming and euphonious masterpiece caused every single passenger on the bus to forget what they were doing or what they were thinking for a small period of time, and they became completely engrossed in it. There was complete silence throughout the entire bus, and passengers started gazing around at one another as if they were all in agreement with exactly what was going on. And for a fleeting instant, we were all united in a state of beautiful harmony because we were all joined together. After that, we exited the bus and went about our day with what I like to think of as a somewhat altered lens through which to view the world. An experience that I will never forget. It is impossible to overstate the importance of Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight, and Sir Elton John as legends. Talk about Dionne Warwick, a musical diva who is renowned for her dazzling, relaxing, and sensual voice. She has left an unforgettable influence on American pop music and society, and she has been awarded 5 Grammys for her work. Nevertheless, because she is about to enter the 9th decade of her life, Warwick is going through the most difficult time she has ever experienced. The life of this extraordinary artist, who is 83 years old and has achieved legendary status, is everything from serene. She is struggling with financial difficulties, bankruptcy, and legal tax concerns, all of which are causing her trouble. Today, we are going to reveal the real-life journey that this musical talent has been on, which is a path that is really difficult. When Dionne Warwick was 83 years old, she was confronted with a great deal of difficulty as a result of a severe economic crisis that occurred in 2013. The 21st of March of that year was the day that she began the process of filing for bankruptcy under Chapter 7 in the state of New Jersey. The alleged mismanagement of her business operations, which resulted in her being in a precarious financial situation, was the cause of this occurrence, which signified a significant and unfavorable change in her financial circumstances. An inventory of enormous financial commitments that had accumulated over the course of the years was disclosed by Warwick inside the filings that were filed for bankruptcy. There was a significant debt of about $7 million that was owed to the Internal Revenue Service for taxes that were not paid between the years 1991 and 1999. This debt was particularly high among these obligations. A tale of financial hardship that stands in stark contrast to Warwick's standing as a famous musical genius is depicted by this disclosure, which highlights the seriousness of Warwick's current financial situation. Warwick was confronted with a significant financial burden consisting of over $3 million in unpaid business taxes to the state of California. This was in addition to the additional amount she owed to the federal government for taxes. Warwick, along with her legal representative, made an effort to engage in negotiations with tax officials in the hope of reaching a resolution that was mutually acceptable for her outstanding tax payments. This pursuit was undertaken despite the fact that Warwick was struggling with financial difficulties. On the other hand, it became clear that obtaining a mutually agreeable plan was difficult to do. As a result of the tremendous financial loads and the standstill in negotiations with the tax authorities, Warwick and her attorney ultimately came to the conclusion that filing for bankruptcy under Chapter 7 was the most practical line of action to take. A bankruptcy proceeding known as Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is a legal procedure that involves the sale of a debtor's assets in order to pay off existing obligations, was most certainly considered a last alternative for Warwick. Because of the increasing tax bills and financial issues that had developed over the course of several years, this decision was made in order to solve the situation, which highlights the seriousness of her financial plight. Warwick was confronted with a significant financial burden consisting of over $3 million in unpaid business taxes to the state of California. This was in addition to the additional amount she owed to the federal government for taxes. Warwick, along with her legal representative, made an effort to engage in negotiations with tax officials in the hope of reaching a resolution that was mutually acceptable for her outstanding tax payments. This pursuit was undertaken despite the fact that Warwick was struggling with financial difficulties. Despite this, it became abundantly clear that it was impossible to establish a mutually agreeable arrangement due to the significant financial difficulties and the inability to reach a consensus with the relevant tax authorities. After much deliberation, Warwick and her legal counsel came to the conclusion that filing for bankruptcy under Chapter 7 was the most feasible option available to them. A bankruptcy proceeding known as Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is a legal procedure that requires the liquidation of a debtor's assets in order to satisfy creditors, was most likely selected as the final option in the case of Warwick. This decision was made in order to address the growing tax arrears and financial difficulties that had accumulated over a considerable amount of time, which exemplifies the severity of her current financial situation. Dionne Warwick's financial breakdown was exacerbated by the legal actions taken by her ex-spouse, which led to later tax problems. This was one of the contributing factors. In the year 1966, Warwick tied the knot with William Elliott, who happens to be an actor and a drummer. On the other hand, their marriage was plagued by early troubles, which ultimately resulted in a divorce in May of 1967. In spite of the fact that they had first parted ways, Warwick and Elliott eventually reconciled and decided to have a second wedding ceremony in Milan, Italy, in the month of August in 1967. David Elliott was Warwick's first child, and he was born on January 18, 1969, in East Orange, New Jersey, where she was residing at the time. In this chronicle, the intricate tale of Warwick's personal life is revealed. This life has been distinguished by difficulties in marriage, reconciliation, and the happiness that comes with parenthood. In the year 1973, Dionne Warwick became a mother for the second time, and she became a mother to Damon Elliott. On the other hand, Warwick and William Elliott were confronted with yet another separation by the 30th of May in 1975, which ultimately resulted in the dissolution of their marriage. The end of their marriage was signified by the legal divorce that was given to Warwick in December of 1975 in the city of Los Angeles. It was during the course of their divorce proceedings that William Elliott made a request for financial help, specifically asking a monthly maintenance payment of $2,000. However, the court did not accept this plea because it is pending a trial about communal property. In addition, he submitted a petition for $5,000, claiming that his monthly salary was only $500, which is a significant amount in comparison to Dionne Warwick's monthly income of $100,000. The expression of empathy toward Elliott was made by Warwick, who acknowledged her status as the primary provider in their relationship. She focused on the fragility of the male ego when the woman takes on the role of breadwinner, adding that being the financial cornerstone is a tough position to be in. In her disclosure of her life's pattern, Warwick highlighted the fact that her father was the only male who had ever provided her with financial support. This highlighted her long-standing independence in terms of taking care of her self-responsibilities. During the year 2002, Dionne Warwick was confronted with legal issues when she was arrested at Miami International Airport for possessing marijuana. In her carry-on luggage, the authorities discovered 11 cigarettes that were thought to be marijuana cigarettes. These smokes were discreetly hidden inside of a lipstick container. There were accusations brought against her for possessing marijuana in an amount that was less than 5 grams. Over the course of October 2007, Warwick discovered that she was listed on the list of the top 250 delinquent taxpayers, which revealed that she had a recorded tax delinquency of $2,365,305.83 in personal income tax. A tax line that was established on July 24, 1997 added another layer of complexity to her existing financial predicament. On the other hand, the Internal Revenue Service eventually discovered that a sizable chunk of the lien was the result of an accounting error, which resulted in the revocation of $1.2 million in 2009. A country that Warwick had initially investigated in the early 1960s, Brazil was the location of Warwick's residence for an undetermined amount of time. After being enamored with the country, she decided to study Portuguese and split her time between Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo simultaneously. However, in 2005, she made the decision to return to the United States in order to be closer to her sick mother and sister. This decision marked the end of her time of residence in Brazil. During an interview that took place in April of 2010, Warwick declared her wish to retire and spend the rest of her life in Brazil. Her children have entered the world of show business, with Dionne Warwick's oldest son David actively pursuing a career in the entertainment sector. Her children have also stepped into the world of show business. A significant contribution that David made to the music industry was his participation in the composition of the duet Love Will Find a Way, which was a joint effort between Warwick and Whitney Houston and was included on Houston's album Friends Can Be Lovers. David not only demonstrated his musical abilities by playing drums in his mother's touring band, but he also occasionally joined his mother on her tours. Besides his work in the music industry, he made his debut in the acting world with the film Ally, in which he played the role of the musician Sam Cooke. In addition to this, David dabbled in the world of music, and he eventually earned credits for the song Here and Now by Luther Vandross. Damon Elliott, the second son of Dionne Warwick, went on to pursue a career in music production and has worked with a variety of musicians, including Mia, Pink, Christina Aguilera, and Keisha Cole. During the year 2006, he was responsible for arranging and producing the album My Friends, which was released by Concord Records. In addition, Warwick was nominated for a Grammy Award in the traditional pop category for her album Now, which was released in 2013, showing the impact that Damon has had on her artistic endeavors. Moving on to a different facet of Dionne Warwick's life, on January 24, 2015, she was hospitalized as a result of a health concern that she experienced as a result of a fall that occurred in the shower at her residence. After having surgery on her ankle, she was released from the hospital, which marked the beginning of a period of difficulty for the renowned singer in terms of her health. Even though Dionne Warwick had to deal with a multitude of difficulties in her latter years, it is impossible to deny the extraordinary skill she shone in the beginning stages of her career. Marie Dionne Warwick, who later changed her last name to Dionne Warwick, was born in East Orange, New Jersey. She is now known professionally as Dionne Warwick. Her parents, Lee Drinkard and Mansell Warwick, welcomed her into the world when she was born. The fact that her mother managed the gospel ensemble Drinkard Singers was one example of the wide diversity that revealed itself in her familial heritage. In addition, her father, Mansell Warwick, worked in a variety of professions, including as a Pullman porter, a cook, a record promoter, and a certified public accountant, CPA. Within the context of her life, the name Dionne, which was bestowed upon her by her maternal aunt, held a special meaning. She had 2 siblings, a sister named Delia, who was popularly referred to as DD, and a brother named Mansell Jr. At the age of 21, Mansell Jr. was tragically killed in an accident that resulted in his death. This tragic event marked the beginning of a chapter in Dionne's life that was filled with grief. It is important to note that Dionne Warwick's background was a combination of African American, Native American, and Dutch heritage, which highlights the diverse cultural history of her family's birthplace. Growing up in East Orange, New Jersey, Warwick spent his formative years immersed in a town that was abundant in a wide spectrum of people and cultures. As a Girl Scout, she was an active participant during her formative years, which is a representation of a child who was active and involved throughout her youth. Warwick began her journey into the world of music at a young age, when she began singing gospel music at the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey. This was the beginning of her journey into the world of music. The multicultural tapestry that is Dionne Warwick's history is brought to light in this paragraph, as are the formative experiences that are responsible for shaping her early life development. Following her graduation from East Orange High School, Warwick made a huge move, which was inspired by her resolve to follow her passion for music. In the year 1959, she made the decision to extend her studies in the field of music by enrolling at the Hart College of Music, which is located in West Hartford, Connecticut. This decision demonstrated her commitment to developing her skills and capabilities to their full potential. During the time when Dionne and her ensemble started giving vocal backing during recording sessions that were conducted in New York City, she experienced a huge breakthrough. During the course of one of these sessions, a significant encounter took place with the renowned composer Burt Bacharach. Bacharach was so enamored by Warwick's vocal abilities that he enlisted her to record demos for songs that he had composed in cooperation with writer Hal David. Warwick and Bacharach had worked together on the tunes. Her amazing vocal abilities were brought to light by the collaboration of Warwick, Burt Bacharach, and Hal David, which marked a pivotal point in her career trajectory and highlighted her extraordinary capacity for singing. In the end, Warwick was able to acquire a record deal as a result of her exceptional singing, which was highlighted heavily in demo recordings. This significant event not only served as a defining landmark in her professional life, but it also enabled her to establish a solid foundation for her following achievements. As a famous and powerful player in the music industry, Warwick's partnership with Burt Bacharach and Hal David resulted in a string of successes that topped the charts, thereby establishing her position as a well-liked musician in the sphere of popular music. It was in 1962 when Dionne Warwick provided backing vocals to the Drifters' rendition of Mexican Divorce that she experienced a significant change in her path toward becoming a prominent figure in the world of music. During this session, her excellent voice and star quality caught the attention of the song's composer, Burt Bacharach. Bacharach is a well-known brill-building songwriter who is recognized for his collaborations with a variety of lyricists, including Hal David. It was a pivotal point in Warwick's rise to fame in the world of music when she was able to leave an indelible impact on Bacharach with her remarkable vocal abilities. According to Burt Bacharach, who was quoted in an article published in Time magazine in July 1967, Dionne Warwick possesses both remarkable strength and delicacy in her singing. Bacharach made this observation in reference to Dionne Warwick's vocal abilities. He acknowledged the great depth of feeling that Warwick was capable of conveying through her vocal performances by comparing her more subdued singing to Little Ships in Bottles. Bacharach made an intriguing proposition to Warwick, suggesting that she record demonstration versions of his pieces. Warwick accepted the proposed offer. These demo recordings were released with the intention of presenting the songs to record labels for consideration. This arrangement was accepted by Warwick, and she was compensated with a small sum of $150 for each session. This amount is about equivalent to $120 in the year 2022. After this, Warwick signed a contract with Bacharach's and David's production firm. This was a strategic decision that allowed Bacharach to have complete creative control over the production of Warwick's music, without being constrained by the supervision of recording industry executives and A&R people. By virtue of Dionne Warwick's extensive musical expertise and educational background, Bacharach was afforded the opportunity to compose tunes that were more complex and demanding. The collaboration resulted in significant outcomes, with the demo version of It's Love That Really Counts and her original demo of Make It Easy on Yourself being included on Warwick's debut album, which was named Presenting Dionne Warwick and was released in the beginning of 1963. The first solo single by Dionne Warwick, titled Don't Make Me Over, was issued by Scepter Records in the month of November when it was launched. It is interesting to note that Warwick came up with the title herself in a moment of fury when she found out that the song she had initially liked, Make It Easy on Yourself, had been given to another artist, Jerry Butler. Bacharach and Hal David, the producers, were the recipients of her spontaneously blurted line, Don't Make Me Over, which she used to express her anger. This fortuitous remark served as the impetus for Bacharach and David to create their first top 40 pop song, which reached its highest position at number 21 and achieved top 5 status in the R&B charts in the United States. Dionne's last name was misspelled as Warwick on the label, which led to her adopting the new spelling, Warwick, both professionally and privately. This is an important fact to note. Following the success of her song, Don't Make Me Over, Dionne Warwick embarked on a tour of France in 1962, in response to the invitation extended to her by her manager. During the course of this tour, she received praise from the reviewing community and was affectionately referred to as Paris's Black Pearl. Marlene Dietrich's theatrical introduction at the Paris Olympia in that same year further strengthened her status as a rising luminary in the entertainment industry. This empty place, with its haunting resonance, wishing and hoping, and Make the Music Play were some of the succeeding hits that followed Don't Make Me Over. These tracks earned moderate success in the top 100 rankings. On the other hand, it was the publication of her fourth single, titled Anyone Who Had a Heart, in the month of November in 1963. That was a breakthrough that completely changed the game. She achieved her first top 10 pop hit with this song, which also achieved a position on the charts in the United States and became a million seller on a worldwide scale. An additional great international hit and million seller, Walk On By, was released in April 1964 as a result of this triumph, which prepared the ground for its release. Throughout the latter half of the 1960s, Dionne Warwick remained a significant figure on the charts of music in both the United States of America and Canada. From 1962 to 1971, the Bacharach-David collaboration was responsible for the creation and production of a significant portion of her musical oeuvre. It is interesting to note that Warwick was able to successfully negotiate the hurdles that were presented by the British invasion in the music industry, excelling in comparison to many of her American classmates. Her long-lasting success can be attributed, in part, to the well-known singles she had in the United Kingdom, such as Walk On By and Do You Know the Way to San Jose. Despite this, she experienced a certain amount of annoyance when she learned that her compositions were frequently given to British musicians such as Cilla Black, Sandy Shaw, and Dusty Springfield for the purpose of recording. While Warwick was on tour in Britain, he encountered Cilla Black and engaged in a chat with her. During the course of their conversation, Cilla Black disclosed that she intends to release You're My World as her following single in the United States. According to Cashbox magazine, Warwick's success in the 1960s was widely recognized, and as a result, she was given the distinction of best-selling female vocalist. In the field of musical achievements, Dionne Warwick was awarded the title of best-selling female vocalist in the 1964 Cashbox magazine poll. She boasted an incredible 6 chart singles during that year alone, which helped her secure the title. Over the course of 3 consecutive years, 1969, 1970, and 1971, Cashbox ranked her as the best female vocalist, demonstrating that she continued to dominate the industry. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that she emerged in second place in the Cashbox poll conducted in 1967, trailing only Petula Clark. She then followed Aretha Franklin in the rankings the next year, which was the year after that. Based on the results of the popular Playboy music poll conducted in 1970, she was deemed the best female vocalist. In 1969, she was named as the Woman of the Year by the Hasty Pudding Society at Harvard University. This was an additional distinction for her. Dionne Warwick's singing technique was depicted as both lovely and intricate in a cover piece of Time magazine that was published in May 1965 and headlined The Sound of the 60s. This manner of singing garnered admiration from both academic circles and stylish audiences. She had a tone that was distinctive, which stood in contrast to the rock and roll music that was becoming increasingly popular at that time period. It is interesting to note that the song, Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that was composed by Warwick was initially intended to be used as the theme song for the James Bond movie, Thunderball. The decision to include the title of the picture into the theme song was made by the filmmakers in 1965, which led to the production of Thunderball, which was sung by Tom Jones. Other plans were altered as a result of this decision. The melodic substance of Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang remained significant inside the film score, despite the fact that this change was made. Subsequently, the song was included in the compilation of Bond songs that was offered as part of the 30th anniversary CD release. Dionne Warwick had a period of remarkable success that lasted from the middle of the 1960s to the beginning of the 1970s. This period was marked by a series of albums that sold gold and a large number of singles that reached the top 20 and top 10 of the charts. Due to the fact that Bacharach had initially meant for Warwick to perform the song, Alfie, for the film of the same name, there is an intriguing account around the song. The British producers, on the other hand, were adamant about using a British performer, which ultimately led to the selection of Cilla Black. On the other hand, Black's rendition only managed to reach number 95 when it was released in the United States. As an additional point of interest, Cher's interpretation of the song, which was included in the American releases of the movie, reached the number 33 spot on the charts. At the same time, Cilla Black's interpretation was able to gain a position in the top 10 in both the United Kingdom and Australia in the month of September 1969. With the release of her first television special, the Dionne Warwick Chevy Special, which was televised on CBS television, Warwick successfully broadened her prominence in the world of television. Burt Bacharach, George Kirby, Glenn Campbell, and Creedence Clearwater Revival were among the noteworthy guests who appeared on the show during the course of its duration. It was in 1970 when Dionne Warwick launched her own record label, which she called Sunday Records. She also became the president of the label. A distribution company known as Scepter was responsible for Sunday Records records. The name Warwick was changed to just Warwick in 1971, after the recommendation of an astrologer named Linda Goodman, who anticipated that the change would result in enhanced success. This change was brought about by a significant astrological effect. In spite of this, she eventually reverted to the old spelling of her name, Worry, a few years later, after experiencing a number of setbacks and leaving the top 40 of the Billboard charts for an extended period of time. Dionne Warwick's career took a turn for the worse in the early 1970s when Bacharach and Hal David, two of the most influential persons in her previous achievements, could not provide her with the guidance and songwriting help she needed. Warwick maintained her status as a concert artist who is widely accepted on a global scale, despite the fact that she was facing certain challenges. In spite of this, her music career went through a phase of decline in the early and middle 1970s, which was characterized by a dearth of big singles during this time period. Then Came You, a duet that was recorded in 1974 alongside the Spinners and produced by Tom Bell, stands out as an exception. It is interesting to note that Warwick first showed ambivalence towards the song, and she made it clear that she disapproved of it once the recording was finished. Despite this, producer Tom Bell continued to have faith in the tune, going so far as to make a wager with Warwick, in which they each signed a $50 bill that had been torn in half as a symbolic exchange. Bell gave her his word that he would send her his 50% of the dollar bill in the event that the song did not make it to the top of the charts. It was to his great satisfaction that the song surpassed his expectations and climbed all the way to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart. By way of a reaction, Dionne Warwick gently returned Bell's half of the $1 money and offered an apology for the inconvenience. Warwick's overall recording career suffered from continuous difficulties, despite the fact that he had a single major success. Following a period of less profitable time spent with Warner Brothers Records that lasted for a total of 5 years, Dionne Warwick's contract with the label came to an end in 1977, which ultimately led to her parting ways with the firm. In 1979, Warwick signed a contract with Arista Records, which marked the beginning of a turnaround in her chart performance in the American music scene, which had been stagnant for some time. During this changeover, she experienced a spectacular rebound, which marked the beginning of her second phase of extraordinarily successful performance. Over the course of the succeeding years, she released a string of albums and tracks that topped the charts, which allowed her influence to continue far into the late 1980s. During this period of revival, not only did her career see a resurgence, but she also established herself as a legendary figure within the music industry. The year 1979 marked the beginning of Dionne Warwick's victorious return to the music industry when she signed with Arista Records. It was none other than Barry Manilow who was responsible for the production of her first album with the label, which was titled, I'll Never Love This Way Again. This album was certified as a million seller by Rai Arts. In January of 1980, Warwick became the host of a television special that lasted for 2 hours and was titled Solid Gold 79. This special eventually evolved into the weekly show Solid Gold, which lasted for 1 hour. Warwick retained his role as presenter of the show for the years 1980, 1981, 1985, and 1986. The duets that Warwick performed with her co-hosts were an essential component of the show. These duets frequently featured both Warwick's songs and the hits of her fellow hosts, and they were orchestrated by Michael Miller, the musical director of Solid Gold. Friends in Love was a song that was released in 1982 and included a collaboration between Dionne Warwick and Johnny Mathis. The song briefly made it into the top 40. Within the same year, she received a significant amount of popularity as a result of her extensive collaboration with Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees for the album Heartbreaker. By obtaining a spot in the top 10 of Billboard's Hot 100 and claiming the #1 slot on the Adult Contemporary chart, the title single of the album became one of the most major international hits that Warwick has ever achieved. Warwick was awarded an RIA Gold Record Award in the United States, in addition to receiving platinum certification, for the album Heartbreaker, which achieved worldwide popularity and sold more than 3 million copies. We Are the World was a charity anthem that was released in 1985, and Dionne Warwick contributed her voice to it. Other notable musicians, like Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and Ray Charles, were also involved in the project. The song was able to attain a great deal of popularity, as evidenced by the fact that it remained at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 list for 4 weeks in a row and was certified as platinum 4 times in the United States alone. For the song, That's What Friends Are For, which was released in the same year, Warwick and Bacharach, who had not worked together since the 1970s, performed together. In addition to Warwick, Gladys Knight, Elton John, and Stevie Wonder were featured on this song, which was released as a philanthropic single to raise money for the American Foundation for AIDS Research, AMFAR. A surprising amount of popularity was gained by the record, as it dominated the Billboard Hot 100 chart for a period of 4 weeks and raised more than $3 million for the investigation of AIDS. For the outstanding contributions that Bacharach and Bear Sager made to the song, it was awarded the Grammy Award for Song of the Year as well as the Grammy Award for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal. Additionally, That's What Friends Are For was recognized by Billboard magazine as the song that was the most popular in the year 1986. In 1987, Warwick received additional success with the release of her album Friends, which was a tremendously successful album of the 1980s and gained the 12th spot on the album chart of Billboard. In acknowledgement of her contribution to the song, That's What Friends Are For, Dionne Warwick was presented with a special recognition award at the American Music Awards convention in the year 1987. At the same time, Warwick was successful with another hit, which was a duet with Jeffrey Osborne called Love Power. This song reached number 1 on the adult contemporary chart, rated 5th in R&B, and won the 12th slot on the Billboard Hot 100 list. Dionne Warwick has maintained an active and significant presence in the entertainment industry over the course of several decades. She has maintained her activity by making a number of notable performances and accomplishing a number of noteworthy accomplishments in recent years. When Oprah Winfrey hosted her Legends Ball in 2005, she honored Dionne Warwick by paying tribute to her. In addition, Warwick had a noteworthy appearance on the final episode of the 5th season of American Idol, which aired on December 24, 2006. As the event progressed,